Warriors, brothers in arms, ass kickers unite. Here today we're going to talk about Pandaria next expansion, changes to DPS Warriors with kind of commentary, implications, stuff like that. This is going to be just a video of me just sitting here and talking for 30 minutes. I'm trying to make it quick and easy, so if you want, grab a beer, get a drink, sit down, listen to my sexy voice, chill out, and just absorb all this in. Figure out how you're going to play a warrior next expansion, what you're going to do, what you want to be, going to play. There's going to be 5 parts to this video. Ability classification changes, class-wide changes, specific, arm specific, and then talent. So I'm just going to go over each one bit by bit, as concisely as possible. I'm going to give you implications of these changes. All right. So the first part is just the general knowledge of Miss Pandaria changes. Ability classification. Talents we know today will be demoted into trained skills while leveling. Okay, so you just have to pick your spec. You don't have to fill out a talent tree or a skill tree or anything like that. Get all of your class-specific stuff and all of your spec-specific stuff automatically. It makes everything homogenized. One arms warrior is no different from another arms warrior. You know what you're getting into, like that. Okay. So these skills that you automatically get, they can either be abilities, passive bonuses, or procs of some kind like we've seen before. It's removed. Talents are introduced. Okay. These are talents you get to pick one talent out of 3 versus 6 different tiers, and the tiers get progressively more powerful as they increase. This is common knowledge by now. If you've been to BlizzCon or if you've seen any of the previews or anything like that, this is kind of common knowledge. But I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we can move forward. All right. So part 2 is kind of the class-wide changes. What do all the warriors get? What are all the warrior changes? So I'm just going to go through these. So the big thing, all the stance requirements on all of the abilities have been completely removed. So no more stance dancing, to do your rend, and then you get to switch back to your MS, and then you switch back to your overpower. All that stuff's gone. You just do everything in the same stance if you want. Fine and cool. I mean, you can taunt in your stance, you can charge in the stance. It doesn't matter. No stance restrictions. But the stance have changed. Okay. Balance is a 10% damage increase instead of the 5/5 that we have now. Defensive stance is just straight, only take 90% damage, and then the Berserker stance is the coolest one. Berserker stance bonus is get plus 20% damage on any ability that hits more than 4 targets at once. So we only have a couple of these. We have Storm, Thunderclap, Whirlwind, and Shockwave. So only those, but they do 20% increased damage on Berserker stance. In Berserker stance, all you're doing is AoE, and that's all you're doing. Some abilities have been removed. Last thing about stances, currently the stance change cooldown is 1 second. This has been increased to 1.5, so it's going to take you a little bit longer to go back and forth in between different stances, but that's not really a huge thing. Right. A lot of class-wide abilities have been removed. Wounds is gone, Inner Rage is gone, Intercept is gone, Challenging Shout is gone, Demoralizing Shout is gone, Battle Trance proc is gone, Insight proc is gone. We no longer have the bleed debuff for our rend and our deep wounds. That's also gone. Passive stuff has been gone, like War Academy field dressing. Not really that important. In combat, that's now standard. Every spec on its second cooldown, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Intimidating Shout will be buffed to a 1-minute cooldown, and it'll hit 6 targets now. Awesome. We need more CC, and so that's going to be an awesome change. And proc is now standard between all 3 specs. This is kind of a new mechanic, new in rage. You're going to get 25% increased rage generation for your melee swings for 6 seconds, anytime that you crit with any ability. 100% chance on crit rage from melee swings. Pretty good. It's going to make things interesting for stat builds, but I'll go over that later on. Alright. Whirlwind is now, instead of a 10-second cooldown, it's now 6. It still has the cooldown set on it. So now you hit 4 more targets, remove seconds from the cooldown, and becomes 0. So you can literally sit there and spam Whirlwind over and over and over again to hit more than 4 targets. Or 4 or more, sorry. So that's really awesome. Combine that with, Berserker Stance, and you can get town on AoE. Is also a standard ability now. Meat Cleaver just used to be Fury only, but now it's with any spec. So you combine that with Whirlwind and Berserker Stance, and you can just hit Whirlwind over and over. You get some insane damage buffs on it. You get AoE damage for any spec. We've got this new raid cooldown called War Banner. You get to pick between 3 different kinds of War Banner. You have one that is like an AoE taunt. And I believe it's going to be a pulsing AoE taunt. So you put the banner down and you taunt all mobs to you for 15 seconds. That's pretty cool. If like new mobs come into the area where the war banner is, it's going to taunt them onto you while the war banner is still up. The next choice of the banner is called Demoralizing Banner. It's going to reduce the damage of all targets within a 30-yard range. 4% for 15 seconds. So really great cooldown there. Also, the third one is called Skull Banner. It's going to increase the crit chance of your entire group 30% for 15 seconds. Now, this War Banner thing is just absolutely incredible for Warriors because we have never been a class that you wanted to bring, more than 1 or 2 in a raid to, because we just didn't have anything to bring to the raid. We would no buffs that were unique to us that other classes couldn't provide that were better. So this is one of those ways, I think, to kind of help in that situation of being desired in a large raid group. Okay, so that's the class-specific stuff. Moving on, Fury changes. Specific passive things here. Removed, that is completely gone from the game, is Heroic Fury, Death Wish, Die by the Sword, Intensify Rage, and Skirmisher. All those are gone. And Single-Minded Fury are now standard. So have both Titan's Grip and Single-Minded Fury at the same time. It will just depend on what weapons you have equipped, with SMF bonus or not. So you have to have 2 one-handers equipped to get the SMF bonus, and otherwise there is no Titan's Grip bonus anyway, so it doesn't matter. So you can always wield them one-handed, 2-handed weapon if you wanted, with a shield or whatever. So, if you wanted to go into, high damage modifier, you can go to SMF. If you wanted to do, Titan's Grip to have more HP, or, hit a harder Raging Blow or whatever, you can whip 2 two-handers, and you can go back and forth between the 2. You can have, if you want to go defensive and put on a shield, and in your other hand would be a 2-hander, and then you go back to SMF. It doesn't matter. So that's really awesome. Flurry is going to be changed. Instead of a chance on crit, you get the attack speed increase. It's now only 9% chance on hit. So you're going to get Flurry a lot less, but it's kind of to counteract the ability that you can get the new Enrage and the Flurry at the same time. It has a much lower uptime than before, but you also have to take into consideration that you can get both Flurry and Enrage at the same time. This has a kind of RNG element to it. It might be kind of frustrating if you go for a build that does not encourage generation by a bit, and that you don't really want to rely on Flurry, because it's not going to be something you rely on all the time. And melee hits, not your actual attacks. Mastery is now, it's not completely changed, but it's just a little bit different. Mastery is just a flat damage increase when you have either Berserker Rage or the new Enrage active. And it scales linearly instead of how the mastery is now. Mastery how it is now is it increases the effectiveness of damage modifiers. Now it's just mastery just gives you +% damage. Have either Enrage or Berserker Rage up. Now the burst implications of this is kind of scary. When you have like 10 points of mastery and a rage up, you're doing 56% more damage. 20 points of mastery, 100% more damage. So that's kind of insane. They might have to tone that down a little bit with some of the talents, binding them together and stuff. But I like the possibility of having different builds for different situations instead of just having this awkward conversion rates and stuff like that for increasing your damage through mastery. So that it doesn't happen anymore with some Pandaria. No more high raging blows or anything like that. It's just +% damage. Alright, so rotation changes. Bloodthirst is now on a 6-second cooldown. Opens up a possibility of a lot of variability in your rotation. When you put in between your bloodthirsts, there's going to be a little bit more decision making involved. Instead of costing 20 rage, bloodthirst is going to give you 10. So there's a 30 rage difference there. At the same time, it's they've designed it to where all of your other abilities cost more. So Raging Blow is now same thing, 6-second cooldown, but a 30 rage cost. It's exactly the same. You still need an Enrage to be able to use it. Strike is pretty much the slam replacement. It has cooldown, it has a 30 rage cost, and it hits weapon damage in your offhand only.
On Wild Strike, Fury's a reliable MS effect.
Is also changed. Still the same chance from the Bloodthirst, 30%. So now it allows you to use 3 Wild Strikes, the GCD reduced to 1 second instead of 1.5 from rage each. Finally, Colossus Smash is also changed to 80 rage with a cooldown, and it also provides physical damage debuff for 30 seconds. Okay, so what does all this mean? Well, it's, Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, Bloodthirst, Slam. We're going to be doing Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, Wild Strike, Wild Strike. It's going to be more costly. That rotation is going to cost 80 rage versus the cost that our current rotation has. At the last Q&A, I made a comment about the unpredictability of missing the RNG involved with missing and having the flurry being up or down at different times and versus rage generation and planning the steps ahead and things like that. And their response to that was to make Bloodthirst also provide rage, which I think is what they were doing already. But by doing that, they also increased the cost of other abilities. So they fixed one thing and broke something else, and then they also added more RNG elements like Enrage being up or not, Flurry being lower uptime, and the huge cost of Colossus Smash. You need pretty much a full rage bar to be able to even use Colossus Smash. So it seems to me that they didn't really know the adverse effects of what they were doing. Adding more RNG elements. Adding the requirement to have a full rage bar to be able to use your CS at all. Oh well, we'll see. Proc basically is just, it allows you to do more damage for less cost. What you'll be doing is, if you get a Blood Surge proc, it'll be like Bloodthirst, Raging Blow, and 3 Wild Strikes, and the cost of that will be 50 rage instead of 80. So with that cost difference, you might be able to throw in a Heroic Strike for the same cost, or you'd save that 30 rage for your Colossus Smash timing. because it's going to be really expensive. I have no idea if we're going to be able to pay for everything. I have no idea if we're going to be able to pay for every expensive wild strike in a rotation. We might have to skip one, might have to have a empty space, who knows. We'll have to see if they keep the same rage coefficients. Also with the second Bloodthirst cooldown, there's now increased incidence of clipping the 20-second Claw Smash cooldown into the second cooldown of Bloodthirst. So to keep things effective and kind of smooth, you're not going to be, I don't think we'll be able to be doing Claw Smash every 20 anyway, because it just costs so much, and it'll have to be, you have to line it up on the 24-second rotation to line it up with the 6 seconds of the blood to be able to even do anything after you use the Colossus Smash, because it's going to take your whole rage bar away. So that's pretty interesting. Another things that I thought about with the new Fury is that we might have different win choice strategies as Titan's Grip. It's going to be an issue of how many wild can you do versus raging blows. Maybe you want to put the stronger weapon in the offhand because wild strike is offhand only. It doesn't matter as single-minded, because single-minded a bonus single-minded Fury is that you get the wild strike in the main hand also. As Titan's Grip you don't. Titan's Grip is only offhand on the wild strike. So maybe if you get a nice weapon upgrade, maybe you put it in the offhand instead of the main hand. So that's different. So 2 stat builds that I thought of coming out of this. You have a Rage Gen stat build and versus an increased damage stat build. Gen stat build would obviously be, hit and crit, because if you crit, then you get the enrage proc. And hit more often, you get more flurry procs. So that's the increased Rage Gen build. And the increased damage build would be, a crit mastery build, where you have the crit proccing the enrage, which gives you the damage modifier also. Mastery. And your mastery stat will increase the mastery amount. So it's going to be a difference of, do you need the extra rage to do more abilities, or do you just want more damage on the ability that you're going to be doing anyway? So we'll have to see how the math works out on that. So that's Fury. Moving on to arms. Passive changes, stuff like that. 12% damage modifier from our spec is now 15. Mastery is exactly the same. Anger management is completely gone from the skills. I haven't seen it. I don't know if they're going to keep the same rage coefficients or whatever, but what that means is you're going to get lower rage per hit for your melee swings. Frenzy is now gone. No more plus 20 rage proc. PvP. Empty Hamstring is removed. Drums of War. Tactical Mastery to a certain extent. I don't know if that's PvP. Use that much. Stance and all. Wrecking Crew proc is gone. Hail is gone. Pretty big. Rotation stuff. Too many changes here compared to Fury. MS is kind of the same as Bloodthirst. Designed it now to also give the 10 rage, also 6-second cooldown. It's costing 20, or having a cooldown of 4.5. But the big thing about this, the best change in the 6-second cooldown, even though you're hitting us often, no longer are you forced to clip your Taser Blood. The second cooldown is less than Eternal on the Taser Blood now, so no clipping that, which is extra awesome. Also, what this means is that you're going to get an extra rend tick for every MS that you do, because the Mortal Strike will come immediately after the pre-rend tick. So it'll go 0, 3, 6, and then your Mortal Strike will be at 6.1, and that's basically the same thing as getting a free rend tick. And there's absolutely no way to hit MS every 6, because there's no way anyone's fast enough hitting the button. So it's going to be more of like a 6.05 or 6.1 second cooldown, and that'll give you the free rend tick always automatically anyway, so that's good. Instead of costing 5 rage, and painfully they removed the 60% crit from Taste for Blood passively. So the damage on overpowers, it's not going to crit every time, and the damage is slightly reduced. So it's kind of sad. Changes. And another letdown is Slam is increased to 30 rage cost. Now, this I think is really odd why they would do that, because you still have the half-second cast time on it. So in addition to costing the 30 rage, it's also going to cost a little bit more, like 4 to 5 additional, from the loss in the auto swing that you're going to incur yourself. So with the removal of anger management and the blood frenzy proc, you're going to have a lot less rage to do anything. So that's really a letdown. So what does this mean? Rotation is going to be like Moral Strike, Overpower, and 2 global cooldowns after that before your next MS that can be filled with either Slam or Hamstring or another cooldown that GC that you'll be using. Also, I forgot to mention Colossus Smash is also 80 rage for arms. It's really interesting because you still have sudden death, so you're still going to get the refresh on your cooldown on your Colossus Smash. Each one of them costs 80 rage. Situation, okay, do I pay for a Slam or do I save for my next Colossus Smash that might proc? Your Morph and Overpower are free. Cost involved in those. The only choice of spending any rage for damage is going to be either, Slam or Heroic or Colossus Smash, and it's going to be really weird. It's not straightforward at all, really, on what would be the best, because you know what the rage generation is going to be like. How rage generation is now is you get the coefficient of, depending on what weapon speed you have, is 6.5. So if you have a 3.6 speed weapon, you're going to get a 3.4 rage for every melee swing that you do with these current Mists of Pandaria. So if you're only swinging every 3.3 seconds, you're only getting 23.4 rage each time. That's really not a lot of rage. It's about 7 rage per second. In a 6-second window. It's about 42 rage that you're getting from your auto attacks. Plus 10 rage that you get from MS, so it's 52. If you don't get a crit and you don't get an enrage proc, you only have 52 rage to work with for every 6 seconds. Well, it is. Sorry. So about 52 rage every 6 seconds. How many slams is that? Well, that's like 1, because it costs 30 rage and then plus a little bit extra intrinsically. So you're really only getting 1.5 slams. You're going to get 2 slams full up every global cooldown. They don't have the rage, so we'll see. They keep the current rage coefficients how they are. I'm pretty sure they're going to have to add something extra to arms to be able to have more rage to do stuff, because there's no way we're going to be able to do Slam and Colossus and Heroic. I mean, no, there's no way. You have to pick one or the other and make tough choices that aren't very straightforward. That's arms. Tap builds, what I thought of, you have a rage gen build it'll allow you to do more attacks because you don't have any rage anyway. Might as well just try to get a little bit more so you can get extra attack in. So that's kind of a crit haste build. And it would proc the enrage, which would give you more rage gen, and the haste would increase your attack speed. So, and then the other build would just be the damage build. Just do more damage on the abilities that you're doing anyway, and mastery. Okay, so that's arm stuff. Now let's move on to the fun part. Talents. Okay, these are insane. Insane when you think of ways to combine them together. Really not too powerful on their own, but especially in PvP, when you start combining them together, they seem really, overpowered to all hell. but we'll talk about each tier. Okay, tier 1 is charge tier. You get 3 choices on improving your charge. So there's Juggernaut, which reduces the cooldown from 20 to 12. Double Time, which allows you to do 2 charges per each 20-second cooldown. And then there's the Root, which when you charge, you root someone in place for 5 seconds. I personally choose the rooting one PvP because I hate when people, get on me because my hamstring sucks, or they're slow or whatever. So I like that root a lot more. It gives you that guaranteed damage window. Tier 2 is the healing/recovery tier. You have choices of some kind of healing effect. You can choose between a 2-minute enrage regen, which at benefit you can also use while stunned. I forgot to mention that you can only get enrage regen if you stack into it with the talents. So that's one of these choices. The second choice is a combination of both Second Wind and Blood Craze into the same ability. And the third one is you can use Victory Rush without having to kill, and the heal is smaller and it has a rage cost to it. I think the Victory Rush talent is particularly powerful at all because it has a 30-second cooldown, I believe, and it's only a 10% heal. 3 is the control tier. You get to choose between Throwdown, how it is currently, or a 20-yard piercing howl, or an auto hamstring, which is called Cripple. Anytime you melee or you Rentic, will apply a 50% slow automatically. So, for example, if you attacking someone and you hamstring them, obviously because your auto attack would automatically put slow on it, and you rend them, the rend will stay on the target for 15 seconds. You switch to a different target, and when that rend is ticking, it's going to continuously slow that person even though you're not even on them. So I think that's pretty cool. Tier 4 is the interrupting tier. You get 3 choices, or 1 choice out of 3 rather. You can get Gag Order, how it is currently. You can get Root Interruption, how it is currently. Or you can get a 10-yard, 40 second cooldown AoE silence. It's called Disrupting Shout. That's particularly powerful when you combine it with other talents, which I'll explain later. Tier 5 is kind of the free damage tier. So 1 choice out of 3 again. A 60-second cooldown Deadly Calm, which is kind of modified a little bit. It only allows you to do up to 3 free heroic strikes or cleaves. Which is a 2-minute cooldown for seconds. It adds 30% of an ability's damage into a bleed effect, similar to the mechanics of how Deep Wounds works. So this is kind of the Deep Wounds replacement on a long cooldown. And it's particularly powerful when you stack it with other things. It doesn't seem very powerful by itself. Something that you want to stack with other things, which I will explain later in some of the talent combinations. Also, lastly, Stormbolt, which is totally freaking awesome. Like, I can't even begin to explain to you how fun this ability is going to be. It's a 30-yard stun you can use every 30 seconds, and it does 100% weapon damage. How cool is that? No other class has that kind of combination and ability where it does damage, it's a ranged stun, and it's a cooldown. So I think that's insane. And also it's good in PvE, because if you have something that's not stunnable, and weapon damage is going to do 300% weapon damage, which ain't amount of damage. One of the hardest hitting abilities for us is Stormbolt. And Stormbolt is actually going to replace Heroic Throw. So you can't have Heroic Throw and Stormbolt at the same time. It's just going to be Stormbolt. That's what I would pick in both PvE and PvP, because it's good for both. It's insane for both. Maybe Bloodbath for certain reasons like AoE, which I'll talk about in talent combinations. Tier 6, lastly, is the ultimate tier. These abilities are really, really, really good, and they're game changers. Blade Storm, how it is currently, and in addition, you can use any shout while Blade Storming. So normally, in Cataclysm, when you Blade Storm, you can't do anything else. But in Pandaria, when you Blade Storm, you'll be able to use Battle Shout, Commanding Shout, the new AoE Silence Disrupting Shout, Howl. You can use any of those. Intimidating Shout. Go up to someone, go up to a group of people, Blade Storm them, and fear them at the same time. And you can use any of the shouts while you're Blade Storming. I think that's really funny. A lot of new hilarity will ensue. So the second choice is Shockwave, which is just the standard Shockwave. But just imagine yourself being a DPS warrior or a warrior in PvP that prot and has Shockwave. To absorb that. Avatar. Now this is the mother of all talents. Plus 2% damage, rage generation, cannot be slowed or rooted. Takes long, 60-second cooldown. This is a very short cooldown, something like this, and this ability just allows you to charge it up to somebody, hit Avatar, and smash their face in, 10 seconds, and they can't slow you down. But you still can be CC'd, like you can still be polymorphed or hexed or whatever, and you just can't be rooted like with a Nova or slowed by something like Hamstring. So, okay, now that we know all the talents, let's talk about some of the talent combinations and what they mean for PvE and PvP. So I'm just going to pick out a couple that I thought were interesting. One combination that I thought of was Disrupting Shout, Blade Storm. So you charge up to, a group in PvP, you Disrupting Shout them so they can't cast, and then you Blade Storm on top of them. So they heal, Ice Block, Bubble, and cast any abilities to save themselves from the damage of the Blade Storm that you're doing. If you combine the Blade Storm with Bloodbath, Blade's going to do increased damage. A lot of cool combinations that will come out of that. A lot of things that we're going to be doing that we could not have done before as a warrior in PvP or in PvE. There's Stun Build, where you have Juggernaut, Bolt, Throwdown, and Shockwave. So you have 5 different stuns that you can use, different situationally, different ranges. AoE, one's not, one's range, one's not, one's a different cooldown, duration. If you have this build and you want to manage your stun internal cooldown, it's just cool to have different stuns to be able to pick from to stay on your target. A build that I thought was more of kind of a damage kind of build where you have Avatar and Bloodbath and Stormbolt. Actually, no, Stormbolt you can't get with Bloodbath, sorry. But Avatar and Bloodbath at the same time. So you're doing increased damage on top of increased damage. And imagine if you had both of those up and Recklessness at the same time. If a person, stunned and you go to them and you hit Avatar and Bloodbath and Recklessness and just smash their face in, it's going to be pretty insane. Another combination that I thought of was, Blade Storm and Bloodbath, with Recklessness. So all of your Blade Storm ticks will crit. And there's a high amount of ticks on each target. And all 6-second Bloodbath that you can do. So you really squeeze all the effectiveness out of the Bloodbath, with this build in an AoE situation. You're just going to do so much damage. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure you can think of more combinations. Some of the things that I thought of just off the bat today. So to summarize, I've talked about 5 different categories. Things are changing, how the specs are changing messaging and what the talents are going to provide for us in a fun way. The main difference between Arms and Fury is there really isn't going to be one. When everything's said and done, everything's balanced. The rotations are going to be similar, and it's going to be the difference of, do you want to have or do you want to dual wield? And that's really it. I mean, the difference between Arms and Fury and everything else is just damage. You do the rotation. It's a style choice. It's not going to be, okay, well, Arms is for PvP and Fury is for PvE. No, it's going to be, you get to pick, and then you build your talents around your PvP or different situations. So I think that is, A+ design choice for Blizzard moving forward when they want to try to make the game, less frustrating for players like me that have been playing for 7.5 years. I'm really, really excited for the expansion. I just really hope they get all of the fine details correct. They've got the big picture down, make sure it's balanced, and they fine-tune the details, and that they don't forget about the of everything. They need to think themselves. They make the strong changes that are going on. So that's it. Watch. I talk so long, but I just wanted to make this video and express my excitement about what's going to happen to us in the next couple months. So we'll see you in beta. To subscribe. What you can do is you can contribute to the Compendium project, which really helps me a lot. Support my Compendium project.